on the bathroom, and
What about pork chop?
he was like on the edge of the bed, getting ready to fall off. Well,
Getting ready to fall off.
he's like 500 million years old, so that would um what's that called? Like probably kill him.
Par for the course. For a cat, that's 500, or a dog, that's 500 years old.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to hit the big time?
Yeah. I'm gonna take this
God,
event.
did they move them around again? They didn't.
Oh, we're on the clock. We're on the thing.
In a second, I mean, it's probably filming now.
I
You know how it
always
does
like to
that.
go and check and see.
Does that.
There we go.
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
Oh, we're not live on the Facebook yet. Oh, yeah, we are.
Here we are. How do we
All
look?
right.
Should I check?
We're live.
Oh, what's the 111? What
Yeah.
is the 111 anyway? What's the info? Today we're talking about boundaries. All the stuff that goes on around boundaries. Boundaries is kind of a trigger word,
Yeah, or an
but
activation word.
it doesn't have to be.
Hmm.
It's a part of life. So, I'm Stacy. I'm a Reiki master. I have 1,000 years experience on the planet Earth. This is my comrade Casey. She also has 1,000 years experience on this planet we call Earth. We're here hanging out together to talk about stuff.
Yes. And we do. We talk about everything under the sun. Um,
Yeah.
personal wellness, self-healing, women's wellness. And today, oh, we get into metaphysics a little bit and maybe some controversial or conspiracy topics every now and again. And today we're, like you said, we're talking about boundaries and how it doesn't have to be an activation word or a trigger, as well as I think that sometimes I think that setting healthy boundaries can, at least for me, if I speak for myself, can be a difficult act of self-kindness, a difficult act of self-respect. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
agree. It's a huge act of self-respect. It's a huge act of self-love.
Mm.
It's like when you realize when you're up against situations where somebody wants something from you, or you're just involved with somebody and a boundary comes up. What other situations besides interactions with other people do you have to put up a boundary for?
Yeah.
Usually you're interacting with another person, right?
Yeah, usually I think it is an interaction with other people, but I think that also if we're talking about healthy habits and relationships with our ourselves, our own personal self and our higher self, even creating and setting healthy boundaries for ourselves. Like today, I'm not going to say yes when I mean no, or today I'm going to, or today I wake up with intention and I go to bed with intention. And that's also kind of a personal boundary setting for yourself that really involves the relationship that you have with your own inner being, your own self.
Yep, I agree with that. Good point. That you can use boundaries in a self-directed manner, and you do. Like the form of discipline, I guess you could say. Like you're having discipline with your relationships with your people from everywhere. And
Hmm.
sometimes, I mean, I'm working with people from all parts of the planet, all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of conditions, situations, history, whatever. And like we were talking before, I mean, I could be working with a client and they might respect me, but then if I have to use a boundary with them, they might respect me more because I've used a boundary with them. And I'm using the boundary because I respect myself. Like when a male client calls me a girlfriend, or if we're going to go out into the community, he treats it like it's date. And it's like, no, no.
Yeah.
I'm not your girlfriend. It's not a date. Situations like that are easy because it's a professional situation. It's we were talking about attachment. There's no attachment there. It's a client. I learned a long time ago to put up a piece of plexiglass between me and the client. I could
Hmm.
still feel for them. I could still want what's best for them. I could still, communicate with them, but no. And 9 times out of 10, they show more respect for me. And I think a lot of that has to do with then what you see is what you get. What you get is what you see. So then people know, well, if there's a problem, a situation, a circumstance, we know she'll say something. We know it'll come up.
Right.
And then
Right.
sometimes that prompts people to challenge your boundaries, test
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And
And
then
I
you're
think, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing to bring up as well. When you have created that boundary, and one of the reasons, like, why are we creating boundaries to begin with? Is it out of protection, or is it out of self-respect and kindness to others, or non-selfish acts or non-harm acts? And it seems like when you get into that space, at least I like to speak for myself and not for the entirety of humanity, but it seems like you set this boundary, and whatever that boundary is, maybe it's just the boundary of not having someone park in your designated parking spot, or something very trivial like that, right? So I think it like you look like you want to say something. I think that that is it's a very minor boundary in the whole scope of things. Does it really matter if that person parks in your designated spot? And I wonder what your idea is on that, just from like that kind of minuscule example when someone pushes that boundary or tickles the edge of the boundary. Is it because they want to see what you'll do? Are boundaries negotiable in that extent to that extent?
I've had that experience
Yeah.
where somebody was parking in my assigned spot, and
Yeah.
I confronted them every time I saw them. I would knock on their apartment door. Hey, you're in my spot again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll move. No, you're gonna go move right now. Oh no, no. And then you're back and forth, and you can't force them to go move.
Right.
In my situation, I just called the building manager, who was kind of a bitch, and she let them have it, but I gave them plenty of opportunity. And
Yeah.
it was uncomfortable. I was younger. I was probably late 20s, early 30s, and I was really uncomfortable knocking on someone's door, being concerned that I was going to have retaliation against me for fucking sticking up for myself. It's my spot.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just, I know it seems petty, right? But you don't just get to take my spot.
Yeah.
You don't just get to do that.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, so I just told the building manager and she set it straight, but there were still times that other people would park there and I would have to be like, geez Louise, but my spot was right next to the walkway and the sidewalk. So
Mm. Right.
everybody wants to be in that spot. But It's not like it's personal against me. It's more like ignorance, convenience. Sometimes it can be for attention. I need your attention. I don't
Right.
care. I like your spot better than my spot. My spot doesn't feel right. Your spot's in a better spot. It's it's like duking it out in a parking lot when it's busy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why like blinkers are a really good idea in those situations because then you know where everyone's going.
Right. And I think that when we oftentimes I think that like people will talk about boundaries as fences or brick walls or something that with fences they can be negotiable or porous. And I think that like with some certain things there's room for that, right? But then with other things there's not room for that, and that boundary does need to be a clearly set, drawn in the sand boundary. This is not okay, or um, this is not how I'm going to allow you to treat me. And really, with that, when we talk about boundaries in interpersonal relationships, we're really teaching other people how we as individuals, as autonomous beings, want to be treated. And those small, tiny things that seem so tiny and petty, like dude parked in your parking spot, and you're like, no, you are not going to treat me like that. And I'm not going
Yeah.
to accept that treatment by you. It's a line that is repeatedly crossed. And when it's repeatedly crossed and we don't do anything about it, then we're saying or communicating that it's okay for you to take up the space, the safe space that I've created for myself. And they or we or I have talked about this within the scope of yoga philosophy as well. Coffee, coffee sip break.
Yeah, I would agree with the whole you're not going to treat me. It's a respect thing. It's and when I was responding to the situation and asking these people, my neighbors, to stop parking there, I'm totally nice, but I'm firm, but I'm
Mhm.
also like late 20s, early 30s. So still kind of brand new to everything. So I probably wasn't as like now, I would probably have a stance, a facial expression, body language that would let people know I am effing serious and you will not be parking in my spot.
Right,
So over time, the more you have experiences where you have to draw a line in the sand, the stronger you become. The more situations that you get involved in or that come your way, whether it's a coworker, a love partner, a family member, a stranger on a street, you know, I mean, it's not outside of anyone's realm for a panhandler to approach you anywhere in the cities and be
hmm
like, "Hey man, you got a couple extra bucks? I'm running low." And it's just like, "Are you for real?" I always just say, "I don't carry cash. I don't carry cash."
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
You don't need, you don't really don't need the money. I'm not gonna give you the money. I don't want to give you the money.
yeah.
How come I'm not walking around getting $5 a person? You know what I'm saying? If you could just
Right.
collect $5 from everyone. So you have to say no to those people. You have like, all right, so like boundary situations like that, where you're dealing with like groups of people that you have to have boundaries on.
Hmm.
If I'm trying to drive through downtown St. Paul and there's a protest parade going on, I'm not going to get involved. That's a boundary. If
Right.
I'm walking through the area and people are trying to engage me from either side, I don't care. I'm not involved. I wouldn't put myself there.
Yeah.
I would not put myself in that situation. But if that's an example of like a community oriented, I've had I've worked downtown St. Paul before, like back in my 30s, and you would have to, there would be bums would come around. Can I get a cigarette? You got any loose change? The same people. And you would
Mhm.
get to know them after a while. And it's like, I'm either give them a cigarette or, which I don't see that as being a big deal because I can always say no. And they're so not right in the head that they probably don't even remember you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
that would be a community example of, because if you, I don't know, I've known people that are like, I give all the bums money, and it's like, great, awesome, go you. They just went over to the liquor store and got more alcohol, so go you. You're just
right.
helping them drink more. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, blah blah blah. I mean, that's a rabbit hole. But that would be a community oriented boundary, or you're I I'm really good at having boundaries with people that get passive aggressive, with
Mhm.
narcissists and the flying monkeys, where one person can't get through to me what they want to get through to me. So they talk about me to all their friends, and then their friends make loaded statements and like try and get my goose going and rage bait, and it's just a pile of passive aggressive, right? I just cut everybody off.
Right.
I just go, well, that whole group just got cut off. All
Right.
those people. I want nothing to do with any of you. And sometimes that's like hard because it's really disappointing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I can't believe you guys did that.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, where? Like, where's the maturity? Where's the consciousness? Where's the intention? Do you realize what you're doing?
Right. Right.
So I mean, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at spotting that kind of behavior, and then like I'm ready, and I'm just ready for whatever happens because I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that as I was saying and as we were talking before, I think that I for me personally, I lived a lifetime of yeses when what I really meant in my whole body was no. And And part of that was one, just maturity level. Two, it was um, guilt or fear of not being liked or fear of not the other party involved um, leaving forever, you know, which happens. You set a boundary and you say, no, this is not okay. I'm not going to be treated like this. And then because you stood up in your, because I'll say, because I stood up in my power and said that this is not okay, then I had a loss of a relationship or a business partnership or a collaboration or something to that extent. And so then this like almost cycle of yeses turns into like this cycle of being able to recognize early on that this is not going to be a good fit and being able to, we'll say, nip it in the bud quickly before it progresses to where my boundaries become inconsistent. And one of the things that I think with having boundaries is to establish that consistency, like how you were saying. Like I said, dude, don't park in my parking spot. Dude, I'm not going to give you $5. Every now and again, you'll bum a smoke, but you've already established that consistency in your boundaries, which makes them real, which leads you to um, having that self-respect and that kindness towards others, and that being able to recognize that like not everybody in the world is a good fit.
Well,
Not,
sometimes they're just not your people, which
yeah.
is the really hard part because then
Mhm.
it's like, because so you have a situation, you put down a boundary, things end and break apart, and you're like, all right, so what was I supposed to get out of this? What was I supposed to learn from this experience? Because
Mm.
it happened.
Yeah.
this person was in my life for whatever amount of time. Things got weird. We're butting heads. It's up in the air. We don't know what's going on. I have a boundary.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Bye now. Why? Why?
Right.
Why? Sometimes it's just to do the boundary. Sometimes, like, you never know what somebody can teach you about yourself. Like, if I get triggered by something, they say it's a reason for you to learn. So then it's like sometimes I might get real literal about what's triggered me
Hmm.
when there's a softer meaning in there, like, all right, so that really bothers me. Why does that bother me? Because blah blah blah. But that's not a trigger. That's like uh integrity. That's like a respect thing. That's
Hmm.
like it bothers me because it's wrong, like it's morally wrong, or
Hmm.
it's just that person is not respecting themselves. That
Hmm.
person is manipulating other people. Why
Hmm.
does the manipulator bother me? What is it about the manipulator that triggers me? Am I a
Right.
manipulator?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, oftentimes when we see things in other people that bother us, is it truly that mirror to us? Sometimes, yeah. Or is it the activation of what, and we talked about this last time, of what people would call like that crap backpack that we carry or that karmic baggage that we carry with us? Um, and sometimes I think that it can be one or the other, and it doesn't have to just necessarily be that person holding up a mirror to me. Rather, it's, oh shit, I'm activated by them being 15 minutes late because when I was on the stoop in the city waiting for my father to pick me up for my visitation or whatnot, he would always be late. So that gets activated in me, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, that tardiness is unacceptable in my life because of a boundary that I had um, established or set at a very young age.
Yeah. Yep, yep. And that's pretty much the same route that I went, where it was like, all right, I'm not the manipulator. How
Mm,
is that person manipulating other people?
right,
They're doing these things. All right, so they're doing those things. What is it about those things that I don't like?
right,
Oh, because men are stupid. So because men are stupid when it comes to that type of woman, oh, all right. Well, what happens there? Where you're I've been cheated on by other men. All
mm,
right. So does that have something to do with me being cheated on and the man being stupid? You know what I'm saying? Not
yeah,
necessarily, but yeah, because there have been manipulating third party females in the peripheral that manipulate your man. And then
right,
you're like, all right, well, he's not really my man if he's being manipulated, so that it goes back to that. So then it's like, all right, a manipulating female shows up, I get triggered, not because I'm a manipulator, but because manipulating females have taken my men from me in the past.
right,
So then I just go, so when I see a manipulating female in regards to a man, I just go, yep, take her.
yeah,
So I don't even, what, there is no boundary there. Go for it. I'm done. But that is a boundary. It's
yeah,
not like the other person's trying to get over it. And nope,
right.
nope, nope. I'm just walking away from the situation.
Yeah. You set like that clear boundary to protect your energy, your space,
Yeah,
your time, your emotion, your body, and your values based on an experience that happened in the past. And I think that's really like oftentimes, because I don't know about you, but I think oftentimes as we grow up, like the boundaries that we're taught are like, don't touch the stove because it's hot. But that's a story for another day. Or, don't stay out after the street lights go out, or whatever. Don't go into the horse yard because you're going to get kicked. Those kinds
Yeah.
of things. Those are boundaries that are associated with our level of personal safety. But then when it comes to like creating those boundaries that really stem from like emotional safety, like how, like I don't know if I was really taught how to do that in a way um that I could take with me into my adulthood. I don't know. Were you taught that? Were you taught emotional boundary setting?
No, I was taught to shut up.
Yeah.
So, and to not share emotions.
Mm.
So, if I tried to share emotions, it was kind of weird too, because it's like most of the people when I was growing up were like, yeah, it's a good thing to share your emotions. And then you start sharing, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to, we just don't want you to right now. Maybe
Right.
later. So I had to navigate my computer. I had to navigate all on my own. I
Yeah.
had to figure out, and as far as emotional boundaries goes, no, I had to learn the hard way. I was a real big people pleaser when I was younger. I didn't know how to say no. I was really worried that people were not going to like me, or that we would stop talking, or that they would hate me, even, it. And then it's like time goes by and you have so many more of those situations, and you realize where it's like, I'm holding on to it. Or what they say, oh, what is that called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a psychological term for basically you're giving importance to something that you're grabbing onto it emotionally, and it doesn't need that.
Mm.
So I kind of went into the neutral zone like in my early 30s. And what I mean, the neutral zone, where it's like I started pulling back from all the emotionally attached stuff that I had. And when you first start doing that work, it's a lot of work, because you're realizing, wow, I had emotional attachments there, emotional attachments there. Wow, really? I was doing that. Every time I went and did that, I had an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
Every time. How many times have I done that thing? So then you realize that, and then people think you're cold. People think you're disassociated. People think you're not compassionate. But you're not. You're just not grabbing out with these your emotional hands and trying to do to own everything, and it's all mine, and I get to control everything, and it's all for me. You're looking at outside things to make you feel better. You
Right.
don't need outside things to make you feel better. I think part of what really helped me with my boundaries is knowing my own purpose. I'm different. I'm not like you. You're not like me. You're allowed to be you. I'm allowed to be me. There is no judgment. I'm not trying to change you. If you're trying to change me, that's a boundary, and if you're trying to change me and I put up my boundary and you don't like it and you can't talk to me and you can't relate to me anymore, we're not friends. You weren't meant to be. But I'm not, I love you, Casey. You're a fabulous friend. And if you got mad at me and wanted to stop talking to me, I'd be tore up. I'd be sad. I'd be crying. But
Yeah.
I don't have that emotional attachment. You know what I mean? Which is basically you're grabbing on because you're afraid it's going to leave.
Yeah.
So if you just trust it, it's going to be there. It'll be there. The right people will always be there.
Yeah.
And the wrong people will just drift away. And if they drift away and you go, man, really? Really? And I've had to do that before, where I'm like, oh, we got along so good. Well, you're an ass. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can't talk to you anymore now. And I liked you. It's the biggest bummer, but if you don't grab on with that emotional, you're not, that's where the attachment causes suffering comes from. It's
Right.
an emotional thing. So I
And
had
that,
to
and
learn all
yeah.
that the hard way.
Yeah, and that's huge, especially as I think when you're talking about that, especially as we're moving slowly slithering out of the end of the year of the snake of this year of transformation into the year of the fire horse, is that I'm getting a little verklempt when I'm thinking about it. It because I'm the kind of person that I become. I'm a very emotional person, you know this. I'm a very we've talked about, because of the business that I'm in, um, there's just there's literally it would be I would have to be a certified sociopath or psychopath if I did not have some kind of emotions associated with the work that I do, right? I would be because everything that I do is yeah, everything that I do is about safety, self-love, remembering who you are, increasing oxytocin levels, and ensuring that there's like a safe space created to be in your full power. So it's hard for me to be like, okay, something occurred in our time together where this is not okay as far as like my self-respect, my energy, my time, my self-love, and I have to set that boundary. And then when I do that, like I go through this like stage of like I don't want to say stage. I go through this experience of emotional release of like I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. And even as I'm saying that, getting a little like tickle in my heart space, like I gotta let it go. I gotta have that maturity and audacity to have the emotional capacity to hold that space the way that it needs to be held so that they can grow. And then also have the maturity, emotional maturity, and audacity to hold that space for myself, the safe space that I've created for myself so that I too can grow. And then if for some reason in the universe, there has to be a boundary set, and that when that boundary is set, if it has to be a bless him and let him go, I'm like, ah, you know, like, oh, like I love you, I bless you on your way, and thank you for the lesson that you've given me. It's still, it's like,
It's
oh,
hard. It's
yeah,
not always easy when you're, I mean, I work in social services, mental health. So I might not be emotionally involved in the manner that you are because you're holding a much bigger space.
yeah,
But I come across and do intakes and I come across situations that are hard to hear.
mm, hmm,
And I meet people that have had some very difficult childhoods, very difficult. I have experienced a lot of bad parents,
mm,
and it's not easy. I've had my moments where we do an intake and I learn all this stuff, and then I have to stop and go cry.
mm,
And
hmm,
then I have to ask, like, why am I doing this? Why am I the one that's here
mm, hmm,
doing this stuff? Because I'm the one that can ground it, because I'm the one that can work with it. It's only going to take me a 5 minute cry and I'll get over it. And then
hmm,
I get over it and I don't let myself get overly involved with people. It's the whole other realization that everyone is on their own path.
hmm, so
So
true.
those people are on their own path. Even though I could feel for them and I can do my best to help them as much as I possibly can. And
Yeah,
when you're a mandated reporter and when you're working with people that are vulnerable adults and vulnerable children and you have to protect them, sometimes, that gets hard too. But like I said earlier, you put that piece of plexiglass up and you can be there, you can get emotional, but it's not anything like what you're doing.
yeah,
You're grounding in a much bigger energy and you're a lot more emotionally connected. And that's just the nature of what you do,
yeah, yeah.
but I can definitely relate and understand on a certain level as far as feeling the emotional stuff. And then you're like, all right, it's professional. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have to release and release and release or cry or,
Mhm.
but that's still, and that's like a professional boundary,
Yeah.
because that's the professionalism, we're, and that's the hard part about when you get emotionally involved. But like, we're humans.
Yeah.
We're emotional beings,
Yeah,
right?
we're humans, we're emotional beings, and we're adult human females. Which makes it even more
Yeah.
even a more emotional experience on this realm because I think and I thank you so much for that reminder, the reminder that we are human, that we are adult human females because we communicate differently. One, we communicate a lot differently. We are more oftentimes in the emotional, creative, cyclical wisdom spaces than our divine male counterparts. But even with that, it's like still like sometimes when I'm thinking about the boundaries that I set in 2024 and 2025, the end of 2025, it's like dude, woman, like I saw this before it was going to happen and I still let it happen. And it's one of those things and my coach Star talks about this. One of those things where like there was like maybe a part of my body, that scarcity part that was like, yeah, I can do this for a little while. And it wasn't like that whole body yes. It was just like a little part of me that was saying yes when the rest of my body was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, girl. Don't do that, woman. And and now as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you for that lesson. Thank you for that lesson because now as like and I think you and I talked about this and it might be now as we like move into the year of the fire horse, I'm like, whoa, like all that crap, all that's and it was good crap because it was lessons learned, yes, but it allowed it allowed for transformation and transmutation to occur within myself that now before saying that yes, I'm able to like sit and be like, okay, is this like a yes? Is this a really, real yes? Or is this a yes, I can do this for a certain amount of time? And if it is
Yeah.
not like a real yes, then it's a no.
Yeah, you're talking about listening to your gut instincts, to your spidey senses, where,
Absolutely. And that
and
comes, yeah.
I've had that happen where I've been like, this feels right, but
Hmm.
it's loaded.
Hmm.
Like there's more to it. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It
Yeah.
feels right, but it also feels wrong.
Right.
And it's like, all right, so I'm going to run with this wrong feeling because that's a red flag as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Yeah.
you learn about red flags too, and all of a sudden somebody throws up like an orange flag, and you're like, yep, you know what? It's fucking red. See you later.
Yeah.
No, you just get to the point where it can be orange and you're walking away. So it's like, when you get into those situations and your intuition is doing it's going kind of a back and forth thing, and then you realize you're getting pulled into it, and you're like, you know what, I'm getting pulled into it, I have no choice, I
Mm.
might as well do my best, make the best of it. Now I'm warned because I got this off feeling about it. Feels right, feels really good, feels awesome, but there's this over here, the
Mm.
orange flag. It's waving. And you're like, yeah, I'm just going to have to coast through that orange flag. And then you coast through the orange flag and you're like, all right, cool, I made it. And now I feel even better. And now
Right.
that I made it, even if I don't talk to that person anymore, what if I become best friends with that person? What if that orange flag was just a test? What
Mm.
if it was just to see if I could say no to that person? The universe doing that, not somebody else. Because technically, nothing is personal.
Mm.
Technically,
Mm.
I'm only acting because of what I know and what I know and what I hear and what my perception is. The other person's doing the same thing. They can appear to be, because I've had people come at me directly for just walking in the fucking room. I just walk in the room and just go, hey, and there's always someone in there chewing nails, and it's like, all right, cool, you're here, nice, So then it's like, do I even want to be there? Is that person going to ruin the time? What kind of a boundary do I have to put up?
Mm, yeah.
And then you'll find out how mature everybody else is.
Yeah.
Because if those other people can't stay out of it or stay neutral, if they get involved, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
But if the for the people, and that's a part of it too, is maturity. It's just growing up and
Mhm.
realizing that, I mean, if someone's able to manipulate me, you did good. And it won't be for long.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It
Yeah.
won't be for long. I'll figure it out. Now, your response to my response to you manipulating me is gonna matter a lot,
Yeah.
because do I want to talk to you, manipulator? Is this how you really are? Is there a reason why you acted the way you acted? But you don't ever get to have those conversations. They don't ever go that way,
Hmm.
where you're having a mature conversation with somebody and you're like, all right, so like you're trying to manipulate me because you did this here. What does that mean? Why are you doing that? Oh no, I wasn't trying to manipulate you. I was this. And they say something, they give you the impression, they tell you what they did, why. And then you have to figure out, are you lying or are you honest? So it's like there's like several layers to the whole situation. Are you lying? Are you honest? Are you
Mm.
fooling me? Are you being genuine? Are you still manipulating? Are you manipulating again? And then it's a process, and you have to use your intuition to help you figure out, what does this feel now? Does that feel right when they said that? Read their facial expressions, read their body language, read what they're saying, their tone of voice, the whole thing. What are they doing? Why
Yeah.
did you do that? I didn't do that. I did blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. I think you're manipulating me.
Right. And
And
I,
you're telling me
yeah.
you're not. And you're giving me this perspective that doesn't line up. So
Yeah.
I wonder now if you're still manipulating me, or I think you're manipulating me and you give me the reason why, and it lines up with something else that makes absolute sense. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I can see where that would happen. All right, cool. And then it turns into a misunderstanding,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that those misunderstandings, and I can't remember the exact quote, but there's a quote about misunderstandings um that I'll have to think of at another time. But as you were talking about misunderstandings and perspective and all of those kinds of things, it became apparent that like perception and misunderstanding is oftentimes one of those things that occurs while setting boundaries or formulating boundaries or deciding like which boundaries are negotiable and which boundaries are non-negotiable. Like someone may that person that was and I'll go back to the original example, that person that was parking in your spot had a totally different idea of what a boundary was versus what your idea of a boundary was. And sometimes I like to like think about it like in the grand scope of things, does that matter? I think like does it matter? Like in the grand scope of things, like if this dude and that's
Well,
how
for me, it did matter because there
yeah.
was nowhere else to park.
Yeah. And that's
So then
Thanksgiving.
I had to go find some random parking spot. That's a miracle. It's a miracle she found a parking spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that is like one of the things that when I'm thinking about the boundaries that I've set, or the like tiny, like ba I don't want to say tiny, but the tiny space for negotiation and the boundaries that I've set, in the grand scope of it, it does matter because consistency is what makes that boundary real. And when there's like a skewed perception of what that boundary is on either part, that's when it sounds like that's when the misunderstanding occurs, right? Because to the other guy, he's like, I
Oh
don't,
yeah,
the other
because
guy, yeah,
if you're having a situation with a person and they explain and they continue to give off the vibe that set off the red flag to begin with, or if they explain and their explanation totally lines up with something that makes it add up,
right,
then you're either so like I have to be open to the possibility that it could be a misunderstanding as
yeah,
I'm putting my boundary down. That's why it's like communication and conversations are really important so that and you have to show up as a grown adult. You
mm,
can't show up as a passive aggressive little kid that's going to get whiny and bratty when they don't get what they want, because that's why the relationships don't work out,
right,
is because somebody can't, oh my God, I can't handle, you're not letting me do that, even though I might have a misunderstanding about it, but I'm not going to talk about it because I'm so offended by it.
mhm,
Like at work, my supervisor knows she can come directly to me with shit. If I'm screwing around and I do something like she did the other day, we're trying to place a client with someone, and there's all sorts of different things we look at, right? When we're placing a client with a staff. And one of them is like gender. And that client, so yeah, blah blah blah. Here's her structure for staff. And I go, women required. So then she shows me what I wrote down on a previous piece of paperwork, which is what she's looking at.
mhm,
And she shows me a screenshot of this section where it said something else that
mhm,
was actually kind of vague.
mm.
And my response was, Great Scott, I could have worded that better. So
Yeah,
then what I did was I went back in and I reworded it and told her it was fixed. Fixed.
yeah,
Thank you for pointing that out.
yeah,
All I could do was just say, whoops, I could have phrased that better. Right. So sometimes that's all it takes. You know
mm,
what? I didn't realize that what I did had such an impact on you. I'm sorry.
mm,
I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing.
right,
I didn't realize I said that. I didn't realize that I said that and you took it that way.
mm.
I mean, think about how valuable that conversation is.
Yeah,
Do
and
we have that conversation? Does anyone ever have that conversation?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, I mean,
You know what I mean?
it does, and it doesn't. It does happen and it doesn't happen. And I think that most of the time, like when you're talking about those kinds of interpersonal relationships, work, dating life, what have you, when there's a boundary that is set, if that other person is like, nope, I'm not talking about it, um, then generally it probably means that the person that is just like, no, I'm not talking about it, generally it means that they were the person that was benefiting the most from you not being assertive in your boundary.
I
Or
can't manipulate you anymore. So I'm
right,
not going to talk about it.
yeah,
I
which
agree
is
with that.
sad.
And yes, that's why we don't have those conversations because, wow, are we going to bottom line this rabbit hole? And that basically, when you lose people that you pull a boundary with and they go away, it's basically they were sucking the life out of you, us, me, them, whoever's on the other end of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, um, definitely. I definitely am thinking that that is, I'm trying to give us hearts on our little thing. I think that definitely that's one of the things is that when they're not open to having that conversation because a boundary was placed, whether it be emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, professional, whatever that boundary that was placed, the instant that you want to have a conversation about it, if that other part of the conversation, that other part of the experience doesn't want to have discourse over it in any way, shape, or form, then yeah, they're probably benefiting from you being a doormat. And we talked about that too. Like,
But that's a
oh,
part of the doormat lesson is realizing that. And then when you're hyper vigilant, and I've kind of been hyper vigilant my whole life, like I always knew who Santa Claus was, even as a real little kid.
yeah.
Like, oh, that's grandpa. That's grandpa so and so, or that's uncle so and so, right? So they would excuse me from the Santa Claus thing when we were kids because my
Mm,
big mouth would open up and I would and all the other kids would not have fun because then it's not Santa, it's just grandpa dressed up as Santa, right?
aw,
So
yeah.
when you get hyper vigilant and you're scanning the room all the time, like
Mm,
it's not always a trauma response. Sometimes people are just born that way. I was just born that way.
yeah.
Where that it was just up scanning that. So when I'm getting involved with other people, you know, at work, even with the crappiest of parents or the crappiest of kids or adults or whatever, I don't usually get too chaffed and too wound up because you see so many, there's in and out. There people are just in and out, in and
Yeah.
out, in and out, in and out. All right, yeah, you're a pain in the butt, but you know what? There's another one coming down the pike. And sometimes I'm mistaken. Like I had a client that her team made it out to be like she was this big holy pain in the ass. And then I go meet her and I'm like, no, man, no, you guys are all fucking missing the boat. So now I get to tell the team that they're missing the boat. You guys are
Mm,
missing the boat. You think she's this, and this. You all need to like quit being a bunch of wimps, grow a pair, and work with her.
mm,
Because sometimes you got that crap going on too. And sometimes people are playing the victim card. And sometimes people are trying to, they don't want to grow up. They don't want to mature. They just want to stay in their little safety zone, whatever that is. And they don't want to learn or progress or have conversations where maybe you can talk about what's your perspective? Why did you say that?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was my knee jerk response. And it was my knee jerk response because it came out of nowhere.
Right.
So when things come out of nowhere and I have a knee jerk response, that's what it looks like. And if you do your shadow work and if you realize that as human beings, we all screw up, we all make mistakes, like what I just said. Oh, so I responded like that. That was my knee jerk response because something triggered me because it happened so fast. And now that's what my knee jerk response looks like.
Right.
Now we know. That's why I did it. That's what it looks like. I can accept that about myself. Here's the thing. I have to learn that the next time that happens, I can't have a knee jerk response. And if I do have a knee jerk response, let's talk about it. Hey, I had another knee jerk response. I know something came at me out of left field. I'm working on it.
Right.
Do you have any advice for me on how I can better handle situations like that? Have conversations, be open, be
Right.
open to be taught by somebody else might have an idea. Hey, by
Right.
the way, I saw what you did over there. I've got
Right.
some advice. Right? I mean, it's one thing for people to go around thinking, I'm here to save the world. I've got advice for everybody. And another thing, if they're like really truly a good friend and or they're conscientious or they're conscious or they live with intent and they can say, hey, take it for what it is, just an observation.
Mm,
I'm not trying to change you, but I'm just noticing. Because
yeah.
sometimes that helps, especially
Yeah.
when it's obvious. Like you drive by somebody that's got a flat tire, it's obvious they have a flat tire, right? So if you're driving by someone that you have a connection with and you can clearly see a solution for their shit, just go, hey, by the way, boop, boop, and keep driving. And then they could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
offer things to people. I sometimes offer things to people in the form of my own experience.
Mm,
Somebody will go, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing this and I found out it works really good. And then it's like, oh, yeah, the sunshine would be really good on top of that. But instead of telling them to go be in the sun or that it's all about the sun, I'll go, I like it when I go have an experience in the sun
mm,
and then I'm sharing with them.
yeah. And
I'm
sometimes,
not trying to change them or
right.
control them,
Yeah. And
right?
I think, yeah. And I think that like that's a real life takeaway when talking about the boundaries is that there's this kind of like idea in the Vedanta tradition that um unsolicited advice is harm. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
No, it does because it's your ego telling you it's your ego telling you know more than that guy about
Right,
their own life.
right.
I know
Um,
more about you do than your own life. But
right.
you can still throw out there vitamin A is good. See you later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Which
I
is
do
not
know.
that's not a piece of advice. In my experience, vitamin A works really good.
Yeah. And I
And you
think
are
that,
sharing your experience.
yeah, and I think that is one of the things too that I've kind of like I've taken I've taken that idea with a grain of salt. And I think that's why, like for you example, I know that a lot of the work that you do or the things that you post are all based on your experience and sharing your experience and saying, "Hey y'all, I healed myself from near death and these are the things that I did." And that is not, that's kind of, we kind of live right now in this age of unsolicited advice. This like everywhere you turn, someone has, and we're kind of like going off topic a little bit, but
No, you're good. But
everywhere you
that's because
turn,
it's still boundaries.
yeah, everywhere you turn, there's a a diet that you should be doing, or because technology has advanced so much, like there's there's advice from every single place, and information is just coming in and coming in. And at a point, and I think that this has been coming up for me personally with my boundaries, is that I also need to be intuitive and conscious about the type of information that I'm allowing into my system. Like I don't need to sign up for every single web master class in the universe. I need to, I don't
I
need to
know
sign up for every
exactly what you
single
mean
master
because it's
class
like,
in the
boy,
universe.
that sounds good, and that sounds good, and that sounds good, and they all sound good. And it's like, if it sounds good and I can walk away from it and I don't think of it ever again, and it wasn't meant to be. But if it
Yeah,
sounds good and I can walk away from it and then I think about it again later, maybe I
yeah,
should think it about it. Think about
right.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
But
that's,
that's a good personal boundary. What you are
yeah,
allowing into your life. That's a really good personal boundary.
it's like, because I think almost every single day I delete about 500 emails from these, oh, that web class looks really awesome. I'm gonna sign up for it. So then I get email and after email after email after email. And then finally, right, we're in the we're in the small, slow stretch of the end of the year of the snake. Finally, I'm like, unsubscribe, 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 so that I don't have a bazillion emails a day because really the I love information and I love to take in what is being offered, but I also don't have the time to take 5,000 web classes or master classes or whatever they are that I
Well, you
signed up
still, or
for.
you don't need to be on their email list because the deals you thought you were getting or the classes you thought you were going to sign up for really don't interest you. And you realize that it's like, it was for a split second. Or they deep dive you in there with a question or a note or a point that makes so much sense. And then they go, click this link for more. And you're
Right,
like, oh, all right, I'll click that link for more. And then
right.
you click the link and then you're in there. And then
Yeah,
then you're like, yeah, I gotta give my email or my phone number now to get the info.
right,
I'll just delete them later. And you say that how many times? I'll
right,
just delete them later.
right. Yeah, and I think that is definitely um when we're thinking about the advice and the information era that we are in right now and setting that boundary for myself to not be what do we do when I text you just about every other day? Oh, I got sucked into doom scrolling. Like, I don't need to
That
be doing
happens
that.
to me every weekend.
I don't need to be doing that. I don't need to be doing that. We are just about out of time. We
No,
probably
me either. Us in Minnesota, it's been kind of hard to put the phone down
mm,
when there's crap going on up here, political stuff,
mm,
and like I'm all stocked up. I'm ready. Remember
mm,
the pandemic when they had us thinking the lights were going to go out, we're going to lose power and shit?
yeah,
Everybody had to stock up. I still have stuff from then.
yeah.
So I'm stocked up. I got extra water, I got extra food, I got extra coffee, I got extra, extra, extra. So I'm ready. So
Yeah.
it's been hard for me to stay off the media
Yeah,
because of all the political stuff going on.
I can imagine. And I haven't, I, that's another conversation for another day. Because I haven't been getting into any of that
Don't.
at all, at
There
all.
was a guy, Jake Lang from Florida. He's running for a Senate seat down there. He came up here and just to roost it up and cause more drama
Mm,
and try and get his name out there. He's a J6er that was pardoned by Trump,
mm,
and I wouldn't vote for him. He came up here and tried to get a little group going, anti-Muslim group, and they
mm,
were supposedly. Now, I'm sorry, uh, you're running for Senate in Florida, and you're gonna hold an anti-Muslim thing in Minnesota? Like, is that mature behavior?
mm,
That is not mature behavior.
mm,
So then he created a big scene over in front of the Whipple building, and there were videos, and it stirred the drama pot, and the popcorn was flowing, and it's theater time. And it's like, you know what? And then Don Lemon came and disrupted a church earlier. That one, actually, I should probably go delete those. I haven't been participating or reposting stuff. I've just been dropping down the high vibe, good light, positive energy kind of thing and hopefully just sending the love and the groundedness
mm-hmm.
out because that's part of what I'm here for. That's part of my cosmic duty. And like getting emotionally attached, where it's like, can we fucking stop? Don Lemon accuses a pastor of some random church in Minneapolis of being the director of ICE in St. Paul.
Mm,
There were groups and people and protesters, and is a thing called paid protester, and it's widely known that they're
Mm,
paid for what they're doing, and they do it on purpose, and they go and they antagonize and they instigate. So they interrupted some random church mass, whatever service today because Don Lemon from CNN told them to.
mm,
And then they get the pastor on the camera and he's trying to get off camera and Don keeps trying to loop him in.
mm,
And it's obvious and it was blatant that it was media. The media was manipulating that man right on camera.
mm,
And he kept saying, I have to go. I have to go take care of my congregation now that your story blew up. And Don didn't even accuse the pastor or ask him if he was the director for ICE in St. Paul.
mm,
Didn't even ask him. Does anyone think that that's a ridiculous story to begin with?
mm.
Why do these people believe it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm doing this again. The same with the Jake Lang. Get the fuck out of Minnesota.
Mm,
Don't come here. We have enough going on.
yeah.
I'm over here trying to keep the ship grounded, and we've got dumbasses, CNN dumbasses coming up here interrupting people's church service.
Mm,
It's getting out of hand. It's really and all they broadcast is how the Democrats mistreat ICE. And there is no broadcast about how the other American or the other Minnesotans are treating ICE well
mm,
and how people are glad that ICE is here. There's none of that. Nope. All you see is this negative shit. I just
mm.
had to vent. And I guess I'm going to vent right here and now on Facebook Live because if you're not from Minnesota, stay home.
Yeah.
Do not come here.
Mm,
Just let us figure it out. You're not helping. That would be someone trying to help. That would be Don Lemon. Really pick some random guy. And then you should, oh my God, you should see the interview. Go home.
it was bad.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's me and my boundary as a Minnesotan. Get the fuck out of my state. Got a boundary. Got a boundary here.
Yeah,
Not.
and there's a lot, there is a whole bunch of really just I'm not I'm not well versed enough in any of it to speak on it.
It's
Um,
ridiculous. It's like you don't know what to believe. There's that perceptive stuff again. It's like, I don't even know
yeah,
what perception I should have on the situation.
yeah,
But what I do know is what I saw.
yeah.
Like that shit happened. That was not somebody telling me some kind of story. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a boundary. I'm a boundary, you're a boundary, she's a boundary too. So are we back next? We're not back in 2 weeks.
We
Are we gonna be back?
are,
We're gonna play 2 weeks by ear.
yes, we'll be playing next week by ear, and the next
No,
week
next week we're not on.
next week we're not on, so the following week we play by ear. I have family in town that
Yeah,
weekend.
because we both have plans that weekend. We don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. Otherwise, the weekend after?
Yes. So we'll
Yeah.
see you we'll see you then, and we'll see everyone then for the for those of you that are listening now or
5 million people that
or
are on right now.
yeah. This is the What's the 111, where we chat about everything under the sun, metaphysics, conspiracy, women's wellness. Today we talked and chatted about burnout and some of the best ways to we talked about boundaries, and some of the best ways to signal burnout
The
is
signal
missing
burnout.
boundaries. And then the realization that healthy relationships only get stronger with boundaries, and creating, maintaining, and
They do, because what you see is what you get. Then you know.
yeah, yeah,
Then you
absolutely.
know what to expect out of somebody. Sometimes not knowing where someone's boundaries are, then you're not sure about.
Right.
right? A lot of that.
Yeah. It's a
Surety.
lifetime. Yeah, it's a lifetime practice, but in the end,
It
boundaries,
is.
this is gonna sound wild, but in the end, boundaries will ultimately give you freedom. Oh,
They will. It's actually a really good thing. And
yeah.
we were talking earlier about what boundaries really are. It's like it depends on where you are emotionally. It could be a concrete wall or it
Mhm.
could be a mesh net, right?
Yeah.
So I think a healthy boundary is a door that
Yep.
has a lock on it. And if you want someone or if you're going to allow someone to come in, you give them a key
Mm.
or maybe a garage door opener and it's a garage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a
You want to
beautiful
give
way to put
somebody
it.
access. It's not, I mean, if it's a concrete wall, that's usually people that are traumatized and they're
Mhm.
going through trauma,
Yeah.
right? But once you come out of that concrete wall, I've been there situations you realize it can be like, oh, it's a flowering hedge,
Yeah.
come climb over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you again, Casey. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for everyone that showed up. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple weeks. All the love.
Ending. End for